So we got some different carbon cycle diagrams here, but they're all going to kind of show the same thing, right? First thing you need to know is that um, plants remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, right, through photosynthesis. So they are able to take carbon dioxide from the air and turn it into food for themselves. Animals eat those plants, and as they're eating and as they're making waste, they're actually going to release that carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. At the same time, carbon dioxide is stored in the ocean. Sea creatures build their shelves from dissolved carbon, and they end up on the seafloor. So lots of carbon ends up in the ocean. Um, Sometimes all those remains of ancient plants and animals become fossils or fossil fuels like coal. We burn that coal or we burn that oil and we send that carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide is constantly going from the atmosphere to plants, back into the atmosphere, into the ocean, back into the atmosphere, constantly cycling. Here's another diagram we can look at. All of these things release carbon, volcanic eruptions, waste and gas and breath from animals, cities and people breathing and all burning fossil fuels, is all releasing carbon dioxide. Carbon is brought in by trees and plants. It's sent into the ocean, and so these carbons are constantly cycling. Okay, and here's another carbon cycle image, right? We can see that healthy forests store carbon, right? They absorb carbon dioxide. What does this one say? Organic materials decay, transferring carbon underground. So carbon ends up underground. Eventually, we might take those fossil fuels and burn them and send them back up into the atmosphere. Wildfires release carbon. Cutting down trees releases carbon. And there's also ways to store carbon, right? If we cut down a tree and build a house, well, that carbon is locked up in that house. So all sorts of ways that carbon's brought in and then sent out. Okay, and you guys can, well, I guess I can read these for you real quick. Carbon is released. Catastrophic fires release carbon that has been stored in trees into the atmosphere. Manufacturing and automobiles also contribute carbon to the atmosphere by burning fossil fuels. Natural processes like volcanoes and decomposition also release carbon to the atmosphere. Carbon absorbed. Young, healthy forests absorb carbon more rapidly than older, dense forests. Older forests release carbon at the same rate that they absorb it in neutralizing their effect on global warming. Sustainably managed forests is an effective way to store carbon, okay, and also other ways to store carbon. So, hope that made sense, and you should be able to move on to the next step.